Here by chance, we are here by divine appointment. We know that nothing happens by chance. So as I welcome you, I also welcome our viewing audience, that when you tune in, that there is a receptivity, there is a readiness, and we're going to talk about free to surrender. Our theme for the month has been free to be, free to let go, free to express who and what we are, that there is a freedom within us. And as we tap into that freedom, whatever is going on in the outer world cannot affect us. And what I know for myself is that every time I try to force the river, or I try to force things to happen, it never turns out. But if I let go, and I let God do what God does best by means of me, that there is an energy flow. Hawthorne said, happiness is like the elusive butterfly. The more you run after it, the more it eludes you. But if you sit down quietly, it alights on your shoulder. And it alights on your shoulder because you are not running after it, because the very running after something is the very resistance that is going to keep it from us. So as we let go, as we surrender to just what is, this moment, as we put into the law of mind our highest vision, our deepest desire, our most sacred goal, as we plant the seeds, as we nurture them, and then we let the universe do what the universe does best. And my teacher used to say, Dr. Guy Lorraine, he used to say, you wouldn't plant the seeds and a couple of days, later go up and dig them up to see how they're doing. There is a divine unfoldment, that we respect this divine unfoldment, that we allow it. We do our work, and yet we don't worry about the outcome. This is the Buddhist non-attachment, to accept what is, to put into the law of mind what it is that we want to experience, and trust the creative process of the universe to do it. And as we have that faith and trust and that knowingness, that too serves as an energy that allows us to know the truth, because in knowing the truth, that's freedom. The true freedom to surrender, to know that, as Jesus, who became the Christ, said, I of myself can do nothing. I can't do it, but there is a power within me that can do it. I of myself can do nothing, but the Father within doeth the works. When we realize that there is an energy within us doing the work, we can get our ego out of the way and allow that energy to come forth. When Buddha meditated under the Bodhi tree, there was no coercing the law. There was just a letting go, and all of his greatest fears came up. All of the stuff of the ego came up, and he sat there under that Bodhi tree, unmoved, realizing that there was an energy flowing in the universe, and he was in that divine flow, thereby attaining enlightenment. And when people said, are you a god? Are you an angel? What are you? He said, I am awake. I am awake. And when we are awake to life, energetically, as the things come up, and we are living in some very interesting times, aren't we? Very interesting. In fact, the ancient Chinese never cursed anybody. They only wished them an interesting life. Oh yes, may you have an interesting life. And I found that so helpful when, I've been up against it at times and felt that way. Oh yes. I wish you an interesting life. Yes, a very interesting life. Getting more interesting all the time. So when we, and then we can just let that energy go as well. And it's interesting the fact that in the morning we set the tone. We hold hands and I ask each person that volunteers, what is it that you want from this morning service? And there's love, and there's understanding, and there's inspiration, and there's peace, all the wonderful things. Because we know that we're never going to outgive God. So we place into the law of mind what I want from today's service. And we got in a conversation about you and me against the world. And I was saying to my hairdresser when he said that, no, it's you and me with the world. Because if it's you and me against the world, then we're seeing the world is adversarial. But if it's a great song. I thought Helen Reddy did a terrific job on it. I loved it. But when I got more aware, I would no longer sing, because the subconscious, when we're singing, it really embodies on the harmonic level, those energies. So I refuse to sing, it's you and me against the world. It's you and me with the world. That we're all part of this great human family. That we go through all the experiences. That we go through the tears and the upsets and the laughter and the joy. Realizing that joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. So when we get that energy within us, we no longer see the world as adversarial. So my hairdresser was saying yesterday that he said it again. And one of his hairdressers said, oh no, as Dr. Sharron would say, it's you and me with the world. Yes, with the world. So he said, you're even influencing my hairdressers and they don't even do your hair. So sometimes that just happens. But one of the greatest things I learned in being a spiritual teacher is you don't try to teach people that don't want it. And that was a big shock for me, that can you believe that not everyone wants to learn and grow? I mean, that was news for me. I was out, telling everybody how they could improve their life the first couple years I got into this way of life and how you can do this or that. And sometimes it was really not appreciated at all. And that was really news for me. So we have to take people as they're at their readiness. And when you are ready, the teacher appears. When you are ready, the demonstration of your goal appears. It's that readiness. Remember, the Course in Miracles states, love waits on welcome. Love waits on welcome, not on time. So when we get that, then the energetics shift, and we begin to be in alignment with that energy. Now there was one student, and she was with her teacher, and her teacher said, it's time for you to defeat fear. The student became very fearful, because how does one defeat fear? She told her how to defeat fear, and she said, this is, how you will do battle with fear. And she said, as the days approached, she became even more fearful. So the day that fear came, dressed in fear's robes, and she was dressed in her robe, and she bowed to fear, and she prostrated herself 3 times and said, I'm here to do battle with you, fear. I'm here to defeat you. Can you tell me how I can do that? And fear responded, he said, when fear operates, it gets up in your face and begins to scream and unnerve you and intimidate you so that you do what fear wants. But if you don't do what fear wants, fear is powerless. Powerless. So fear can get right up in our face. It can scream at us. It can intimidate us. It can call us names. And all of the things that fear does. But if we do not do what fear wants, fear is powerless. Fear knocked at the door. Faith answered, behold, no one was there. No one was there. We give the power and the energy to the things outside of us. So the free to surrender and the power of surrender is realizing truly that there is a power for good in the universe flowing through us. That we don't have to make things happen. And this was so big in the 80s where you had to make it happen and you had to give ulcers, not get them. All that stuff that went on, right? But the day comes when we become enlightened, realizing if it is not flowing, it's not right for me. And there is an intuition that we listen to within us, the still small voice of God that we listen to. When Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and it was so interesting because my late husband, he taught with Frank Baum, who wrote The Wizard of Oz, his great-grandson, who gave him an original copy. And we love Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. And they're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And they're, finding friends along the way that, one of them wants a heart. One of them wants brains. One of them wants courage. All looking outside of themselves, off to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz, going through all the experiences of the Wicked Witch from the West. All that energy. And finally they make it to the Emerald City and the wonderful, wonderful Wizard of Oz. And isn't it wonderful how little Toto, he runs to the curtain and pulls it. And there's this little man with the great speakers, and he is doing this whole ego act as the wizard. And Dorothy looks at him and says, "You are a very bad man." And he said, "Oh, I'm not a bad man. I'm just a very bad wizard. I'm being who I'm not here." And when we're being other than who we really are, People get it. Who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying, Emerson said. So when we're coming forth in an authentic way, then our life flows. The people, places, and things that we've been looking for show up in our lives. We had our bookkeeper, believe it or not, in this economy, he is busier than ever, and that was his word, because we know busy is a lower vibratory frequency word. Busy connotates being scattered, but when I have a very full life and I have an abundant life, the universe smiles on that. There's more abundance and fullness rather than busyness. But anyway, he told me he was very busy and that he was taking on more clients, and that he couldn't do our books anymore. And he was a volunteer bookkeeper. And so we were praying and we were knowing the truth, and we were kind of looking around and people were referring this one or that one. And one day I went to the mailbox, I opened up the mailbox, there was an invitation to go to a graduation, and there was a card. And it said, Ken Aller. And under that it said CPA, and that was not cleaning, pressing, or alterations. That was Certified Public Accountant. And I'm looking at this card, and I'm thinking, we've been praying now for a couple of months for a bookkeeper. So I made the call, and I said, oh, Ken, I received your invitation. It was so wonderful. I thanked him, and there was money in the envelope, thanked him for that. And said, I noticed on your card that you are a certified public accountant, retired. And I put it out there that, wouldn't it be nice just to have a retired person that would like to, do some nonprofit work, right, as a gift. And I put it out there. And I said, do you volunteer? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, would you like to volunteer for Interfaith? And he said, yes, I would. It was as simple as that. It came to me. Now, this doesn't sound maybe like a big thing, but when you're looking for a bookkeeper, it is. It really is. And you want the right people. You want the energy of what you're about with the books. You want a positive energy. And if you have anyone doing your books that doesn't have a positive energy, take another look. Because we believe that we can take ourselves out of the law of averages and place ourselves within the law of individual selection. And as something as sounds as simple, yet who is going to send you their card with money in it with a certified public accountant? I thought this is one of the miracles of life. This is how it works when we let go and let God do what God does best by means of us. That whatever it is that we're working on in our life, it might be our physical body, that in the twinkling of an eye, all can be healed. In the twinkling of an eye, it can release and it can let go. And I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And what I love about our way of life is that we do know that there is a power that's for us. Oscar Wilde said, I am a paranoiac in reverse. I believe people are plotting to make me happy. I love that. They're plotting to make me happy. So when we have that mindset, something begins to shift because we all have the key. And Trish she wrote me an email about a young woman who was crying and weeping at her car because she couldn't get in her car. And she went over to her and said, well, what's going on? And she said, I knew I should have gotten a new battery for this clicker that unlocks my car. I just knew it. And she pointed over to a convenience store. She said, do you think they'll have a battery for it? And she says, well, they may. It is her alarm. She says, no, it's just this little thingy thing. Okay, the thingy thing. And she said, and are those keys with the thingy thing? And she said, yes. And she says, well, may I see them? And so she gave her the keys with the thingy thing. And she put the key in the car and she unlocked it. And she opened the car and said, now you can drive over. It looks like a long walk over to the convenience store to see if there is a battery for the thingy thing, right? So it's so interesting that we all have the key, but we're looking outside of ourselves for the thingy thing that, we just know is going to do the trick. But the truth is, if there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it, and we surrender to it, the minute that we feel that resistance, the minute we have that energy, we just got to let it go. And when I received my ticket a few months ago, and I just, I saw him, and I thought, I know I was keeping up with traffic, but, he saw me, right? And when I pulled over, I just surrendered. And I just let it go because I realized that obviously I was speeding and he did see me. And then when I gave him the Each One Reach One card, inviting him to join us, Because, can you imagine, and I shared this when I received the ticket, I think that's a very interesting job, to be hiding behind bushes and buildings and catching people doing things wrong. I think that's stressful. And so I, extended our card and said that I would be happy, for him to join us. And that I look at these experiences as little toll fares of life. There ain't nothing we can do about it, so, we're pulling over. And then we get to go through the process of what we go through. And when we go through the process, we're really good for a time. And then we go unconscious, it seems, kind of, thinking, I'm keeping up with traffic. But we have to stay awake, as Buddha said. When we are alive and awake, energetically, then we are in a harmony with life. And we're all going to pay the toll fares. We're all going to have these little karmic experiences, as Reverend Basha is going to talk about this Wednesday. And remember, she was born in Poland and came to this country when she was 11 years old, not speaking the language. That the Ascended Master started speaking to her when she was 3 years old. And she said, we lived in a one-room stone house with a dirt floor in Poland. I came from self-sufficient farmers. But out of that, I believe that she is a mystic in our time. She is very intuitive. She's a Qigong master. She does all these amazing things. But the beginnings of the life it was a surrendering process, that I'm here in a new land, just as Dorothy and the friends. There was a new land, but within her was the key, wasn't it? Click your heels 3 times. The feet always represent our understanding. Click them 3 times and say, I always say, Om. I'm home, I'm home, I'm home, and there you are. Because we have surrendered to a power in the universe greater than we are, that we can use at any given moment. I challenge each of us this week, that the minute we start feeling that energy, and we know that little energy that comes up, that we just say, peace, be still. I have the key. The key is within us. The key allows us to go forth and to go really where we're going, where we need to go and where we are going. And as we listen to the still small voice of God, as we release anything that is going to serve as some sort of a deterrent and a distraction, that we let that go and thank it and allow it to return to its native nothingness from whence it came. Because we are here to surrender, to let go, to let God do what God does best by means of each and every one of us who heard the call and answered. And what I know is that every time we step up, the universe smiles on that, and we go into a higher level of consciousness and a new estate, because God is our source, right? What is God? God is our source. Again, God is our source. One more time. God is our source. Let's breathe that. Let's inhale that. Let's be that. Let's feel the gratitude of the universe flowing through us, that God is our source and we are going higher yet. God bless you. I love you, and namaste.